What's going on, everybody? This was supposed to be a very structured podcast that I was going to do. I was going to come home, eat some food, record this podcast, kind of talk about some football, talk about whatever. Decided to eat a little bit, just hang out, chilling. And next thing you know, I see a notification pop up on my phone from Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, and Damian Lillard just got traded. So this is an immediate reaction with all these types of thoughts. I'm your host, Alex McNish. This is your Sports Digest. I just messed up the whole intro. Who cares? This is absolutely wild. This is ridiculous. So it was just reported minutes and minutes ago by Shams Charania and Adrian Wojnarowski that Damian Lillard, who has been wanting to get out of Portland for a while now, has expressed the utmost belief that he is going to go to Miami. I had wrote down on my paper for today of kind of what I wanted to talk about. What will end up happening to Dame? Well, we found out what happened to him. He's going to go to the Milwaukee Bucks, and there have been these rumors kind of floating around here and there over the past couple weeks now that, like, hey, maybe the Bucks would be interested in getting Dame because people are monitoring Giannis's status with the team, how happy he gets. A lot of people think he's going to leave, but hey, if you're getting Damian Lillard now, this is a massive, massive get for the Milwaukee Bucks. This kind of puts you really over the line in, I guess, your championship window. Obviously, they're having to give up a lot to get him, but it helps that this is ending up becoming a three-team trade between the Bucks, the Blazers, and the Suns. Where the Blazers are getting Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Tuami Kamara, rookie out of Dayton, and a couple of pick swaps and picks from the Bucks. And then the Suns are getting Yusuf Nurkic from the Blazers, Nasir Little from the Blazers, Keon Johnson from the Blazers, and Grayson Allen from the Milwaukee Bucks. And this is a lot to really break down here. We all kind of had the idea that the Suns were going to be involved in some way, shape, or form within the exchange of a DeAndre Ayton and Yusuf Nurkic type of deal. That was the case. A lot of people obviously expecting Miami to be the team that gets Dame. There were some rumors at the beginning of this week that Toronto was going to get Dame. I really thought that was going to end up being the trigger that they pulled. But Milwaukee swoops in. And you're probably wondering, why would you get rid of Drew Holiday? He's your point guard. He's one of the best, if not the best, perimeter defender in the league as a guard. And the fact of the matter is when you're trying to match up Damian Lillard's $40 million contract, Drew Holiday is the only one that makes sense. You just re-signed Brook Lopez and Chris Middleton, the big deals. But whenever you sign a contract in free agency or an extension, there's about a 90-day no trade clause that is implemented within the contract or within the NBA that once it's a recently signed player, you cannot trade them or move them for 90 days unless a part of a sign-in trade situation deal that is set out. But since they signed back in July, they are no longer allowed to be traded until I think after the trade deadline. So you can't even really trade them until towards the trade deadline. Nonetheless, I mean, absolutely wild situation. So you couldn't trade those two, so you have to get rid of one of them, and you get Drew Holiday. It's already come out that the Blazers are wanting to move on from Drew Holiday. We'll get into that in just a second, but yeah, I mean, Damian Lillard coming to the Bucks. I'm trying to work on something that's like my first ever like true article blog type of thing for my website, kind of breaking down every NBA team for this season. There's my spoiler, I guess, that was going to be a surprise. Now it's real. And I literally just wrote about the Bucks and the Heat last night. With the Bucks, I said they need to go make a splash somehow, and with the Heat, I said they need to get Damian Lillard. And the Bucks made the splash. The Heat no longer in the mix for Lillard. Obviously now a part of the Milwaukee Bucks. And man, what a team that they got with Adrian Griffin Jr. as the head coach, or not Adrian Griffin Jr. Adrian Griffin as the head coach of that team. Man, I'm honestly at a loss for words just because I did not expect it to happen today. I knew it was going to come soon. Training camp opens on Tuesday, media day for most teams are on Monday. So you had to get a deal done if you wanted to get it done now. I now believe that there's going to be the floodgates going to be opened of signings, a little bit more signings, maybe some other trades, maybe a Buddy Hield trade. Maybe James Harden finally gets moved. He said he doesn't want to show up to media day yet. It's just such a wild situation that we randomly got here on this Wednesday afternoon. DeAndre Ayton for the Blazers is perfect. Get him a change of scenery. Get him to where he can play with a point guard who wants to pass it, right? Obviously, DeAndre Ayton, a very good finisher around the rim. Not really one to work off the ball as much. Kind of needs to be that main screen setter, help on the defensive side type of guy. And in the Phoenix Suns offense where you have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and now Bradley Beal, he was just kind of the side piece, the fourth guy on that team. Here in Portland, now he can be that guy to help Anthony Simons, help Scoot Henderson, kind of play off Jeremy Grant a little bit as well, even in a pick-and-roll situation. I assume Chauncey Billups is going to use him in a good way, but that's a big get for the Blazers. And then for the Suns, you just wanted a little bit more offense from your center, a guy who can stretch the floor, you can rely on a little bit to be a little bit more of an aggressive player. A lot of people with some criticism against DeAndre Ayton, me included, about being more physical down underneath the basket. He definitely is not as physical. Maybe this will kind of light a fire under him now. I don't think he wanted to play for Phoenix anyways anymore, so maybe this new chapter helps him out a little bit, get him out of the main market size in Phoenix and kind of back into Portland now where they're kind of in this weird rebuilding, retooling phase that I think Portland's been waiting to get into for a while now after trading CJ McCollum in previous years and other guys. They finally offloaded Damian Lillard and can really make that next step into their process of embracing the youth, embracing the movement from there. Like I said, you drafted Scoot Henderson, number 3 overall, number 3 overall, I think. Yeah, 3 overall. So, now he has the keys to the franchise. Him and Anthony Simons are the backcourt of the future. And you got, or not Anthony Simons, but you got DeAndre Ayton and Jeremy Grant as your front court. And that wing position is pretty much open for whoever would like to come in there and take it, honestly, at this point. But, man, and I'm not including Drew Holiday in this because it's widely expected for him to move on. It was already just reported that they're expecting Portland to instantly move Drew Holiday. Now, if you look at Drew Holiday's contract, I believe he's making around $30 million. 36.8 with a player option after this year. So basically, if you're not a championship contender, you're trading for 1 year of Drew Holiday before he opts out. If you are a championship contender, you got 2 years of 36 on the books for him. 34 this year, a player option for 37 next year, so a total of 72.3 for the next 2 years. And you're probably like, man, what kind of championship team could be wanting to do that? Well, this is an immediate reaction and an immediate idea of a couple teams that you can really maybe think about seeing here. Philadelphia could be like, hey, you know what? If James Harden's going to act like this way, let's go and get Drew Holiday. James Harden going to Portland, whether he sits out, whatever he does there. I think if you're Philly, realizing that James Harden's not going to play, why not go and get Drew Holiday to be your point guard, knowing that he's there? Creates a crazy defensive duo of him and DeAnthony Melton. I know Tyrese Maxey's supposed to have the keys to the city, but you got to have a veteran guy that can play defense alongside of him. That would not be a bad idea if you are Philadelphia. I would not be surprised if the Brooklyn Nets go out and try to make an idea of trying to get him, moving pieces like Spencer Dinwiddie, Royce O'Neal, Dorian Finney-Smith, contracts to get it off. Maybe Ben Simmons goes over there. I don't know what they want to do, but they have the contracts to match it up. And if they want to go get a point guard to pair next to Mikal Bridges, which, man, if Mikal Bridges and Drew Holiday were on the same team, I'm so glad they are in the Eastern Conference. So that could be a move that I see made. And if you look at the Miami Heat, you missed out on Damian Lillard. The Trailblazers are going to be like, hey, I'm sorry we couldn't get you Dame. You guys didn't offer enough. You want to offer the same package for Drew Holiday? And Pat Riley might be desperate enough to be like, yeah, sure, here, take it. Because you can match up the two contracts. You can get rid of Drew Holiday's contract. And or not Drew Holiday's contract. You can get Drew Holiday and get rid of Kyle Lowry's contract, get rid of, Duncan Robinson, maybe throw in like a Nikola Jovic or a Jaime Jaquez, who I know the Trailblazers were high on in the draft. You can go and get one of those guys, and it'll match up the salaries. I don't think they're going to trade him within the West. If they do, wouldn't be surprised about a Pelicans reunion. If they don't like CJ McCollum, might trade CJ back to Portland and let him retire there, or let him do whatever else at the end of his career if they want to go and get Drew back again. I would also not be surprised if the Minnesota Timberwolves try and make a play on this. I know they got a lot of contracts here, but shedding off a little bit of Mike Conley's contract, trade him to Portland, and please, Portland, just release him. I don't want to see Mike Conley suit up for a Trailblazers game. But if the Timberwolves want to go and get a true point guard that can lock down on defense, that would also be a great option there. And then the Clippers, obviously you'd have to do some salary matching, kind of figure that out, and do some business stuff that, I can't really do at the current moment, but it looks like they have the contracts to be able to do that. Would not be surprised if they try to get in the mix. It's just, it's just wild. I really did not expect to see Dame get traded to the Bucks. Like Miami and Toronto, I was set on, but Milwaukee, that was very, very, very unexpected. And for the Suns, now you're getting Yusuf Nurkic. You bring in Grayson Allen, who former Grizzly, loved Grayson Allen. He can knock it down from three. He'd be perfect off the ball. He can hold his own on defense. I'm excited. I'm really excited for that. As I'm saying all this right now, something just came out saying that the Sixers would be interested in Drew Holiday. So there we go. Like, you're hearing it first here. This is no sources that I have telling you any of this information. Sure, I have sources for other things, but not for this. So what a wild situation. This is absolutely crazy. I did not plan on talking a lot of NBA today, but here we are. And, man, I am happy that we are. I'm still trying to process it all, honestly. This is live time. We get NBA basketball next week. Training camp opens next Monday or Tuesday, or media days next Monday for most teams. Next Tuesday, it opens up for everybody to go back and report to training camp, which means we'll get a lot of this drama filled out there. We'll probably learn more about the James Harden stuff now. The Dame saga is over. He has finally been traded, so now we don't have to worry about that. Now we can just focus on basketball. And like I said, would not be surprised if Harden gets moved now at some point. Buddy Hield, who has been reportedly on the trade block, gets moved. And then these other teams who are trying to make some roster crunches. You can see some other guys getting moved here. We always see that happen here during the training camp preseason time frame. But, I'm really surprised. And, keep an eye out because you just never know what's going to happen next in the NBA. This is the reality TV show of the NBA. But yeah, that's my NBA talk right now. I was going to talk football a lot, and I mean we still can. We can just go over some of the big points. We won't go deep into everything, and then we'll make picks. And then we'll get out of here. Let's just do that. Don't make it long because the whole Dame thing came out. I don't know what's about to happen next. There could be something that happens during the podcast, the rest of the podcast recording. So do not be surprised if I just stop talking at some point trying to read something that's important. But let's talk about the NFL real quick. Let's quickly go over a couple things. The Dolphins scoring 70 points on the Broncos. Yikes. Multiple rushing touchdowns for both Akane and Raheem Mostert. Tua looked awesome. Tyreek was awesome. The defense looked solid, even though the Broncos did score what they scored. It was a bunch of junk points. Not too concerned there about Miami's defense, but I am very concerned about this Denver Broncos team, which I wasn't really high on them in the first place. But, it just looks even worse now. I was never a Sean Payton guy anyways. I didn't think he was going to really move the needle with Russell Wilson at quarterback and kind of an overrated defense that a lot of people kind of think are a little better than what they are. Obviously, the 70 points tells you otherwise. Mike Williams, wide receiver for the Los Angeles Chargers, ended up tearing his ACL. Is going to be out for the season, unfortunately, for the Chargers. They're losing one of their big weapons. Fortunately for them, Keenan Allen has been awesome. Quentin Johnston, who they drafted at TCU in the first round this year, now has to mature pretty quickly and step up. If you're a fantasy manager, I would not be surprised if you go out and get him, try to trade for him. Maybe a Josh Palmer, go and get him. Gerald Everett, the tight end, Donald Parham. Those are all going to be his weapons now. You got Austin Eckler, who is a little banged up, but he'll return eventually. So that's a big loss for the Chargers. And Mike Williams, who I think he's coming up on a contract year, if I'm not mistaken. Other news, Colts get an overtime win without Anthony Richardson, with Gardner Minshew stepping out of the back of the end zone at quarterback for them. Matt Gay, 4 50-yard field goals, I believe. Unbelievable. What a way to win. He got signed for like a 4-year, $22 million contract in the offseason. A lot of people made fun of it. Obviously paying off here pretty early for the Colts, expecting to get Anthony Richardson back this week for the game against the Rams. Josh Dobbs is him. I just literally wrote down here, Josh Dobbs equals him. And he did just that against the Dallas Cowboys this weekend, who obviously lost Trayvon Diggs. We did not get I don't think we talked about that because I think he tore his ACL after I recorded. Unfortunate for the Dallas Cowboys to lose a guy like him. Say what you want about his coverage or his ball hawking skills, whatever. He's still a solid corner in the NFL, a really solid corner in the NFL. And losing him is obviously going to hurt a team. Stephon Gilmore now going to have to step up like he's back in 2018 again. He's the number one guy right now, but Josh Dobbs is throwing it all over the field and running it all over the Cowboys defense. This past weekend, the Packers, who like 25 minutes before game time ruled out the entire roster basically, played host to the Saints. Derek Carr, I think it was a shoulder sprain that he ended up suffering, I believe. I don't remember exactly, but he got hurt. Jameis Winston came in, and you know the drill. When famous Jameis comes in the game, just know the other team has a really good shot at coming back and winning that game. And the Packers did exactly that. They came down for 17 unanswered, ended up winning the game 18-17. Big balls from Jordan Love that game. He looked really good. Towards the end, working with a bunch of targets that, not really expected to have to work with. No real run game with Aaron Jones out. Maybe Christian Watson will get back on the team here pretty soon. I do love Luke Musgraves, though, their rookie tight end at Oregon State. He's really good as well. And then we'll just talk about – I literally just wrote down T. Swizzle and Kelsey Bone. And, I mean, if you haven't seen it already, I don't know where you're living, but it's definitely not under a rock. It's got to be way below that because Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are doing their thing. She was at the game, whatever, who cares? Just know that the Bears got absolutely stomped by the Kansas City Chiefs this weekend, and they look horrible. They look horrible in that sense. Let's flip over to college real quick. Notre Dame, who I picked them to win. I thought they were going to win. They were winning. They had the lead until 5 seconds left in the game where they ended up punching it in the end zone for a touchdown. The final 2 plays of the game, I think everybody knows by now, Notre Dame only had 10 guys on the field. I don't really know what the goal was. Did they think? I guess they were just assuming the lucky Irish leprechaun was going to be playing as the 11th guy, or maybe touchdown Jesus was the 11th man on the field for them. I don't know, but it didn't help them. It didn't help them at all, and they just ran right to the side where the less of the defensive line was. Ended up getting the win. Notre Dame's going to be fine. I'm not too concerned about that, but that was your statement win to get you into the playoffs this year, and you probably just lost your opportunity now. Now you got to hope you beat Duke this week and beat USC in a couple weeks, I believe. But yeah, there's Notre Dame collapsing there. Ohio State getting a win there. That's a big one for them and their confidence going forward. Obviously, we all know the Big Ten. They don't play anybody until they play Michigan or Penn State. So it'll be an easy ride for Ohio State up until then. Clemson also collapses. They had a lead on Florida State most of the game for some points. Klubnik got murdered. Lost the football, and then Florida State returned it for a touchdown, and the game was not the same ever since then. They take it to overtime. Florida State, I believe, did they miss the kick? Or I think they went for it on 4th down. I'm trying to remember. This was Saturday. It's now Wednesday. I'm recording this. I think they went for it on 4th down with a couple seconds left and didn't get it. Clemson ended up driving down the field there on one play and couldn't get anything else out of it. Went into overtime. Florida State scores in like 3 plays. Clemson could not score. They lose that one, and we can officially say that Clemson is out of it for the rest of the season. Keep an eye there on the coaching situation. Garrett Riley, terrible offensive coordinator, according to that game, from what I saw. And, I think maybe Dabo might be on the hot seat. I don't want to say it, but a lot of people are, and it wouldn't be too far-fetched, I think, at this point. Another team that just looked awful, but obviously when you're playing a really good team in Oregon, you're bound to look awful. We knew that Colorado was eventually going to fall down at some point, and this was the stretch that we all pointed to right here, the Oregon and USC back-to-back weeks. And they really felt it against Oregon on the road. They really experienced the first road environment that is really tough. Sure, TCU tough, but not as tough as Oregon's environment is. They get smacked. They were talking a lot of crap, I think, from a video I saw online. So Colorado got what came around to them. I think they'll be fine. Obviously, they got to play at USC. That's going to be tough, but then after that, they got a couple of games where it's a little pump-me-up game, get them ready to finish out Pac-12 play here before they move on out of the conference this year, or next year, rather. Another team who hasn't looked really good recently, but gets a big win at home this past week, and Alabama, who we all know the USF situation, starting 2 different quarterbacks in that game. Didn't work out. Jalen Milroe gets reassigned as the starting quarterback for them, and he comes out this week against Ole Miss. Looks much better. Offense looks and feels a little bit better. I don't know what Lane Kiffin is doing with his play calling. He just loves to run jet sweeps now whenever down 2 scores and trying to keep themselves in the game. But, hey, that's just – I don't know football, though. Obviously, Lane Kiffin knows more than I do, so he's doing it for a reason. But big win for Alabama right there at home against Ole Miss before they start hitting their stretch here upcoming pretty soon. And then let's go right back to the Pac-12 and cover 2 more games. Utah beating UCLA. Utah's defense is awesome. Now, once they get Cam Rising back, he is still yet to come back. And if they can figure out how to really solidify that run game, them and Oregon and Washington are the 3, hey, there's a real good chance you can find 1 or 2 teams in the playoff this year out of the Pac-12, because there are some really good teams with some really good offenses and even, honestly, good defenses right now. We've yet to really see Washington's defense be tested outside of maybe Michigan State or Boise State, but I assume they'll be up to the challenge for whatever they do. And if the defense isn't great, they're still going to put up 60 points, so who really cares? But UCLA going into Utah, starting a true freshman in Dante Moore, who I really like. Unfortunately, just a tough environment for him in his first game. Utah comes out and plays really well on the defensive side, shuts them down pretty much for the most part. And then Cam Ward, I know I picked Oregon State, but I am a Cam Ward truther. I've been saying it for months now about him at Washington State. He is the man. It's time we start thinking about it. Hey, we think about Michael Penix. We think about Caleb Williams. We think about who else? I mean, who else could you put in the Heisman conversation? I think it's time we start looking at Cam Ward a little bit in that light. This man can throw it really well, and he is not afraid to go out there and use his feet a little bit. And he's super elusive when he's on his feet. So keep an eye on him from Washington State. I know a lot of people aren't going to really pay attention to it because it's Washington State, but trust me, Washington State is an exciting team to watch, and it's mainly because Cam Ward is back there at quarterback for them. And that's all I got really for college football and the NFL. I know I only hit on a couple of things. I really wanted to keep this quick just because the Damian Lillard stuff happened, and I wanted to record this. I didn't even think about recording today, honestly, but I wanted to do it now because that just happened. So there it is for that. If you're a hockey fan, the NHL preseason has started too. Exciting stuff is just around the corner in hockey. I'm excited that it's back. I'm a big hockey guy. I'm also a Northerner, so it's only right that I support and watch hockey. Everybody was watching Monday Night Football the other night, and I was watching preseason hockey. So if that shows you what kind of maniac I am, I guess that's about all I got for you in that front. But now let's make some picks. It's a quicker episode, only covering a couple of the points from the weekend. Let's just go ahead and make picks. Again, I get all of my picks from the ESPN Pick'em, Yahoo Pick'em, or just games that are pretty much within a touchdown of the spread that are any decent of a game. Let's stick with college football first. And in the NCAA, we got a Friday night game. Louisville going to NC State and taking on the Wolfpack, heading into Raleigh, North Carolina, to see the real test for Louisville, who started off the season 4-0. I really love this Louisville team. Jamari Thrash, one of their wide receivers, is unbelievable. Jawar Jordan, the running back, is unbelievable. Jack Plummer, former Purdue and Arizona State maybe quarterback, taking over with Jeff Brum, their new head coach there at Louisville. I like Louisville going on the road and beating Brennan Armstrong, the Virginia transfer over there, for the Wolfpack. I like Louisville on the road in this one. We're going to stick on Friday night as well. We got another Pac-12 battle. Utah heading into Oregon State. Obviously, Oregon State coming off the loss to Washington State. Utah with a big win against UCLA at home. I'm still taking Utah on the road here against Oregon State. Jalen Glover, I think, is going to have a little bit of a better game. He's the running back for that team. I'm excited to see what he can do. Nate Johnson, if he's going to be the running back again, if he's going to be the quarterback again for Utah this week, I wouldn't be surprised to see him have a big week. Even though Oregon State's defense is really solid, I think Utah's defense is even better. Give me Utah on the road to beat Oregon State and really make that full push going down the stretch where they play USC and Oregon back-to-back weeks and Washington within a couple weeks after that. We move to Saturday now, and the first game we could pick is the Florida Gators taking on the Kentucky Wildcats. The spread's at 2, now at 1, I believe. Again, this is not for spread. This is just picking who wins the game. This is the one we're sticking with. Florida, Kentucky. Obviously, I'm not going to pick Florida, but don't be surprised if Kentucky comes out firing. We come out a little flat maybe after last week's performance against Charlotte, and it's a little bit of a disappointing day for Florida. I think Florida still finds a way to win. I think the defense is a little bit better. I think we've seen, if you watch Kentucky football, that if you put a little bit of pressure on Devin Leary and that offensive line, he's not going to do too well underneath that pressure. And if there's anything that we did well against Tennessee is put pressure on Joe Milton, making him have to make weird throws or just take sacks. I think our defensive line is going to be the game changer in this game. So give me Florida. Obviously, I'm never not going to pick my Gators in this one. Sticking with the noon games, a Sun Belt showdown of South Alabama going into JMU, James Madison, who are undefeated. South Alabama last week losing to Central Michigan, after beating Oklahoma State. James Madison 4-0 as mentioned. We're going to pick JMU right now. They're probably the best team in the Sun Belt currently, so give me James Madison to win that one. Also sticking at noon, Clemson and Syracuse. Clemson, we talked about them earlier. They're not really doing too well. They're not riding any highs, but the other team is in Syracuse, who is riding a big high. They beat Purdue 2 weeks ago, beat Army at home last week. Syracuse, one of my favorite teams to watch in college football. I love a lot of the guys on that team. Garrett Schrader is awesome. Give me Syracuse at home. Last year they made it close against Clemson. As a ranked team, they made the game close last year. Syracuse at home in the Big Dome. They're going to get the win this year, I believe. Moving on to the next game, down a little bit here at 11 o'clock as well. Going to be a really early start time there in Boulder, but Colorado playing host to USC. I don't know why it's a game on the Pick'em, but it is for ESPN, so I'm obviously going with USC here. I think Colorado comes out a little bit better than they did last week against USC. USC's defense not as good as Oregon's, so I think that Colorado will look a little bit better here. Might be a little bit more of a shootout, but Caleb Williams is going to prove why he's the Heisman Trophy winner from last year for a reason, and probably a chance to win it again this year for them. as well. So, yeah, give me USC there against Colorado on Saturday morning. And now we move into, I believe, the 2:30 time frame. Yeah, 2:30 time frame. Illinois heads into Purdue. Purdue 1-3 start. Illinois 2-2. Purdue last week coming off a loss to Wisconsin on Friday night, even though I picked them. I'm gonna ride Purdue still. I don't know what it is. I just like Purdue. I have a soft spot for them. I think Hudson Card's still good. I think you've faced a really tough Wisconsin defense that's just always good. Illinois' defense is solid, but not as tough as Wisconsin. So give me Purdue on Saturday afternoon as well for that one. I know it seems like a weird pick, but I'm going to pick them anyways. 3 o'clock, Boise State heads to Memphis. Memphis coming off a loss at a neutral site kind of game against Missouri where they didn't even look too bad. There were some ref issues, I'd say. I'm a fan of the Tigers. I'm also a fan of Boise State. If you grew up with me, if you're my family and you hear this, you know that these are two of my other like darling teams growing up was Boise State and the Memphis Tigers. So this is a tough one for me to pick, but I'm going to pick Memphis because they're at home here. Tougher to travel from Boise State to the Liberty Bowl than it is. I guess the traveling both ways is tough. I'm going to pick the team that doesn't have to travel across the country pretty much to come play. And Memphis, I think that their run game is really, really good. They can throw it a little bit. Boise State's going to look good, but they haven't looked as good right now. So I'm going to take Memphis at home for this one. Next, 5 o'clock game Central Time, a ranked matchup in Oxford. LSU heading in to play the Ole Miss Rebels. Ole Miss obviously coming off a loss to Alabama. LSU coming off a close victory against Arkansas. I'm going to take Ole Miss at home here. Call me crazy, but I'm going to take them at home against LSU. I think LSU's really good. I just think that playing on the road is going to be tough for LSU in this environment. Last week, LSU playing Arkansas at home struggled. I think a night-ish game on the road at Ole Miss, facing a really good offense that does a lot of weird motions. I think it's going to be tough for LSU, so give me Ole Miss at home on Saturday night, or Saturday evening, I guess. We move on to the next game, another Sun Belt matchup with a team that potentially is vying for that number one Sun Belt spot. We're taking Troy versus Georgia State here. Georgia State undefeated on the year, Troy 2-2. Losing to Western Kentucky last week, what a tough scene, honestly. Or they lose to James Madison the week before. They win Kentucky. They were losing most of the game. It was a tough scene there. End up pulling out the win. Georgia State looking really good. I'm going to take Georgia State at home against Troy there. And then we move down the ranks a little bit more. Duke and Notre Dame. That's where College Game Day is at in Durham. I don't think that Notre Dame is a bad football team. I think they're better than what they showed last week. I think they're better than Duke right now. I'll take Notre Dame on the road. I like them here. But Duke's going to keep it close. I wouldn't be surprised if they win, but I think that Notre Dame ends up pulling it out in this one. And that'll be all the picks for college football. I know last week I said I was going to try to keep track of my record. I haven't. So we're just going to move on anyways to the NFL. And Thursday night's game is going to be an in-division matchup between the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers. A lot of people still questionable and limited in practice going into this game. I still don't really care. I'm going to take the Packers. I am a fan of Jordan Love. I'm also a fan of Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. I think playing at Lambeau gives Detroit a little bit of a struggle here and gives the Packers a little bit of an edge. I know last year you can cite the end of the season win for Detroit on the road. Not the same team, not the same personnel, and Jordan Love is really, really solid. You know, the guys are really rallying behind him, and if they can get half the guys that they were missing last week or even one or two, it's going to be a good help for this Packers team. So give me the Packers tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football. Moving on to Sunday, we have our first London game of the season, and it's only fitting that these two teams play there. The Jags and the Falcons, the two teams rumored to get moved there. Jags, obviously, last week not playing really well at all and losing to the Houston Texans at home, getting blown out, matter of fact. Falcons last week on the road losing to the Detroit Lions. Give me the Jags in basically what is a home game for that team. That game's at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. Is there a chance I'm not awake to watch it? Probably, but I'm going to try to be awake for it. Then let's move to the afternoon games that I think everybody will be awake for. 12 o'clock, Dolphins and Bills. Dolphins coming off a big win. I would not be surprised. I'm very hesitant on picking the Dolphins here just because I think when you put 70 points on the board, it's hard to be like, oh, yeah, we got a big game next week. Oh, we didn't just put up 70 points. We'll be fine. It happens in the NBA a lot. It happens in the MLB a lot. You see a team score 15 runs or put up 140 points in a game as a team, and then the next game they either come out and score 1 or 2 runs or don't score at all. And in basketball, after scoring 140 points, they come up and put like a 90-point performance up. So I could easily see this being the case for Miami here, kind of running out of the juice last week. But I'm still going to take the Dolphins, taking the hot hand right now. I know they're on the road in Buffalo, but if you're going to play in Buffalo at any time in the year, this is probably your best time to play there rather than at the end of the season. So give me Miami coming in to Buffalo and getting the win there. Next, we have a couple of 0-3 teams, the Vikings and the Panthers. Both teams losing last week. I mean, the Vikings, I don't know what's going on with them. They're probably going to trade Kirk Cousins if I had to guess. I'm still going to take them to win against the Panthers on the road. Andy Dalton is starting at quarterback for the Panthers with Bryce Young being out a couple weeks. They lost to Seattle last week on the road. I'm going to take the Vikings. That has a little bit of better personnel on the roster. And then this game that I'm about to pick, I don't know why it's not flexed to a primetime game because this is the best game of the week. The Broncos and the Bears taking on each other in which might honestly be the worst football game of the 2023 NFL season. The Broncos murdered last week. The Bears murdered last week. The over-under is 46. I would take the alternate spread of over-under to like 20. I would not be surprised if this game ends in a 3-2 overtime victory or a 2-2 tie, honestly. It is going to be that bad to watch. It's probably going to be really exciting, but it's going to be really bad, and I'm going to watch it all. But I don't really know who to pick. I'm going to take the Broncos because they're a better coach team compared to the Bears, I guess. I don't know. Who really cares? We're not winners by watching this game. If you watch this game, you're not a winner. You lose the game. So anybody but whoever watches this game wins the game. Ravens and the Browns. Ravens losing to the Colts this past week in OT. The Browns getting a win against the Titans this past week at home. I'm kind of tossed. This is kind of a toss-up. I'm torn really on who to pick here. I'm going to go with the Ravens on a bounce back. I think the Browns are overplaying who they are as a team and an identity. So give me the Ravens with a little bit of a bounce back win on the road in a tough environment. Steelers and Texans. Steelers get a big win on the road in Vegas. Texans get a big win on the road in Jacksonville. Would not be surprised if this is a little bit more of an offensive game than you expect. But I'm going to take the Steelers on the road, just a better defense, facing a rookie quarterback, Mike Tomlin, a good enough coach to coach against him. Rams and Colts. Colts playing host to the Rams. Rams losing on Monday night to the Bengals. They had to travel from Cincinnati back to L.A., back over to Indianapolis. The Colts don't really have to do anything and go anywhere. Anthony Richardson's probably going to come back. Give me the Colts at home on Sunday afternoon. Also on Sunday afternoon, another in-division matchup between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and New Orleans Saints. And happy yearly anniversary of some random Marshawn Lattimore and Mike Evans fight, because you know you're in for at least one per year within these two playing against each other. And that's probably going to happen this weekend. But give me the Saints at home. I know Famous Jameis is at quarterback. I just think they're a little bit better of a team overall than the Bucs right now. So that defense is going to carry them to a win, I believe. Would not be surprised if the Bucs win that, though. Commanders going on the road to the Eagles. I love my Commanders, obviously, my guy playing for them. The Eagles are just a different beast. They look better against the Bucs in the second half on Monday night. Commanders losing to the Bills after a horrendous offensive showing. I'm going to take the Eagles at home. Bengals and Titans. Right now, I really don't know. I'm going to pick the Bengals. No, I'm not. I'm going to pick the Titans. Well, maybe I don't know. Oh my gosh. I wrote down Bengals, but there's an eraser mark on the paper that has Titans underneath it. The Bengals are in bolder letters, so I'm going to go with the Bengals. But if Joe Burrow does go on the IR and misses this game, or just misses the game in general, give me the Titans. But I'm going to take the Bengals. If Joe Burrow's out, though, give me the Titans. Moving to the 3 o'clock, 3:25 schedule, Raiders and Chargers. Both teams not looking great right now. I'm going to take the better overall team in the Chargers at home as well. Here in this one, 3:25 game, Pats Cowboys. I kind of want to take the Patriots. I really kind of want to take the Patriots, but I don't think the team really liked that Mac Jones gave Sauce Gardner a little nut tap last week. They might be thinking that this guy's a little bit of a dirty player, even though they all like him. Cowboys need a win desperately after last week to prove that, hey, Trayvon Diggs isn't our entire defense. Michael Parsons is. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots come in here and get a little bit of a momentum victory over the Cowboys. I'm still going to take the Cowboys, though, to be on the smart side of history, even though I don't like picking against Bill Belichick ever. 49ers Cardinals, I know Josh Dobbs is running wild like it's Dobbs-a-mania out here. That was the worst punt I've ever done. I'm sorry, that was the worst thing I've ever done right there. Dobbs-a-mania, that was the worst thing I've ever done. Give me the 49ers at home. Don't really care. Sunday Night Football, Jets and Chiefs. Jets playing host to the Chiefs in a night game for the first time since Aaron Rodgers' Achilles turned into a bunch of gummy worms. So give me the Kansas City Chiefs and the Taylor Swifties to take over MetLife Stadium. I think that's still what it's called. MetLife Stadium is still called. I don't know why I didn't think it was still called that. But they get another game on Monday night because the Giants get to play the Seahawks. I really want to take the Giants here, but I think the Seahawks come in and get a win, but I would not be surprised if the Giants win that one as well. Those are all my picks. I'm not going to repeat them. I'm still in shock that Damian Lillard just got traded. I got to figure out how to change all of these things that I've wrote over the past couple of days, so I'm going to go do that. I appreciate you guys listening. It's a little bit of a quicker episode, I guess, in comparison to the normal weekly ones we have, but my throat also hurts, so I really didn't feel like talking too much, honestly, this week. But I knew I had to get something out, especially after seeing Damian Lillard got traded. But we'll be back next week reacting to all of the NBA Media Day stuff that happens on Monday. We're definitely going to have some Grizzly talk next week. I think my article might come out next week, too. We'll see how I do on that. We'll react to all the games this weekend in the NFL and college football. And we'll give you a look a little bit into the MLB postseason as the season concludes this weekend. We're going to pay attention to baseball a little bit on this show more and maybe get you guys interested because a lot of people do enjoy watching postseason baseball compared to regular season baseball. And yes, they are keeping the pitch clock rule in the postseason. Thank goodness they're going to stay with that. It makes the game look so much better and feel so much better. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it a lot right now. That's it for this week. I'll be back next week. I'm Alex McNinch, and you just got your Sports Digest.